It is the day after our very first real craft show, and we've had the opportunity to examine just what exactly our most popular items were. And the answer might surprise you. Definitely did not surprise me. These are things that I've been working on for a little while, trying to uh, generate more business. And I think in the long run, these are going to be our best tool. This is our not so secret weapon. These little guys, I like to call them Rowdy Coins, with our company logo on the front, and then on the back is a QR code that takes you straight to our website with our products and links to our social media. These guys were wonderful to give out at the craft fair, and I think were probably our most popular item. After counting, it looks like I gave away about 120 of them. Why do I consider it my secret weapon? Well, this product alone, and I call it a product because it really is a product. It is something that I've produced, and it's something that is fully intended to hand out to customers and also to draw in more customers. So, why is this product my secret weapon? Well, the second most popular thing to draw people into the tent were these coins. The 3D printer was the first. I cannot recommend enough that you take a 3D printer with you if you are able. That alone had people standing around it for 10 to 15 minutes just watching it print a benchy. Something that seems routine and normal for most anyone that has a printer is not for people that have never seen one before. So, cannot recommend that enough. These coins are the perfect icebreaker, the perfect segue into showing people everything else that we're able to produce. And without them, I don't know that we would have had the sales that we did. The question really isn't should you produce your own coin to hand out at these fairs, it's how. And that's what I'm going to show you right now. So to get started, we'll hop on our desktop computer. And I use Orca Slicer. I find it's probably one of the better forks of Prusa Slicer, but you can also do this in Bamboo Studio. So the first thing we're going to do is add a primitive cylinder, and we're going to resize it to the base size of our coin, which I like to use 50 millimeters by 50 millimeters, and I like a base height of 3 millimeters. You need to make sure you turn off uniform scale for this. And in order to get that ridge on the coin that I have, you're going to have to add a negative part, and that negative part is just another negative cylinder. And you're going to resize it. I like to have a 2 millimeter brim around the outside, so I'll set it for 46 millimeters, which gives you 2 millimeters on either side. And I only do a 0.8 millimeter inset. And now what you'll do is you'll drag it over to the top of it, and you get it roughly centered. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then we're going to move it down. So the goal here is to use this negative part to cut out 0.8 millimeters from the top of it. And there's probably a better way to do this, but this is how I do it. It really doesn't take a whole lot of time. But you drag it down, and it does become kind of tricky. Sometimes you have to go back and make sure that you're selected on the right thing. And we'll drop that cutout down to where it's just barely showing in the object. So it takes a couple tries. I get a good look at it. And then once we're happy with its positioning, you can move it and tweak it just a little bit if you need to. We're going to end up exporting this as its own STL. To do that is pretty easy, but prior to that, I like to double check just to make sure that it actually is going to show up correct in the slicer. So here we go. You'll right click on the object, export as STL, and I've already done that, but we can export it again just so I can show you. And then once it's done, we'll select that STL, and we can just drag and drop it into Orca Slicer, and you'll see the object that we built. So we'll get rid of the old one. There we go. And you can see we have that little ridge that we built, that little lip there, and that's going to serve as the base of our coin. So we need to get a logo, and we also need to get a QR code. Now, depending on how you build your QR code, you can't just drop a QR code SVG file in. So the way we're going to do this is go ahead and open up your browser. And the website I want you to start with up here is QR Planet. So website is up there on the top, and then you'll just place your website in the SVG QR code. And you have to make sure that you put the HTTPS or HTTP as appropriate. And then you have multiple options to select from here. I like to go with the least complicated, which is at level L, and then we'll download our QR code. Now, once we have that vector file, that SVG file, we need to turn it into an STL file to be able to be processed by Orca Slicer. So we'll select our SVG file, and we're going to hit upload. Now, I like to have a 0.8 millimeter height for the object. That gives me 4 layers for my QR code. We'll download that. All right, and then we're going to take that file and we can drag and drop and put it into the slicer. And you'll see an immediate improvement over the last SVG file that we dropped in there earlier. All right, so now we have the logo file of your choice. Ours happens to be a paw print. And again, we'll resize that to a 0.8 height just for 4 layers. That's all I really look for. Now what we need to do is change the filament. I have that PLA silk, the gold. I don't want that. I'm going to change it to a blue, and then I'm going to change my other one to black so I have some decent contrast. Now what we need to do is we're going to try and resize this just to make it so it'll fit on the bottom side just. So this is going to take a little bit of finesse on your part. And again, I like to keep it at a 0.8 layer height. So we'll drag it up to the object, and we can see that it's still a little big. So we'll do a little bit of resizing. And the goal here is to have the outside corners of that QR code just barely off the edge, or barely inside the edge rather, of your coin. You can see we're very close now, just a matter of a little bit of finessing. Looking at the measurements we have, anywhere between 33 to 34 is probably going to be pretty close. And then again with a 0.8 layer height. And then once that's done, we like where it's at. It's time to assemble the objects. So this basically locks them together and will allow it to see it as one unified object. So for the paw, or whatever logo you choose, it's going to be a little bit different. Instead of putting it down on the bottom, we're going to want to put it on top. So in order to stack the objects, you have to assemble them. And then once you assemble them, on the left-hand side there, under the assembly, select the object you want to move. Mine is the paw. And we'll use the same process to adjust the size. The difference here is that you want it to fit inside of the rings that we have, which you can see there, the outside ring. And you'll drag it up, and this is where it takes just a little bit of finesse, where you're going to want it to just barely go under the surface of that blue layer. And once you're happy, then we can take a look at it through the slice function. We'll slice the plate, and this will give us an idea of what the extruded form is going to look like. So we can zoom in, and you can kind of see the layer lines there on the top aren't exactly what I want. It's because that paw print is just a little too large. So we'll scale that down just a little bit. And now that we have it nice and scaled down, we'll slice it again, and you can see a much cleaner top side appearance there on the coin. And that is it for the initial construction. I'll go look layer by layer just to make sure that everything looks okay on the top and on the bottom. That looks like the objects are all together. And now we can select how many we want to print. So I usually just fill the bed. You usually get about 20 just a couple caveats when you're designing these. So the number of tokens that I have here, the red and the green one, I think look the best out of all of them. I have a red silk and a green silk that I used for this, and the finish is just amazing. Very shiny, it draws the eye, but the back of it, you can see the red and the green just don't have enough contrast to be a functional QR code. So really that's what the camera uses, is the contrast between the two colors to make an effective QR code. It looks good, but it is next to useless for what I needed to use it for. So a better option, if we look at all of the other ones that we have here, are to use two high contrasting colors. So this pink, gold, and black have served a much better useful for a QR code. If you look here, the pink and the gold are still extremely shiny, but the matte black allows it to have a high contrast between the two colors, and it works great. If you guys stuck around this long, thank you. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make your very own 3D printed business cards for your next craft fair or event. And if you guys liked the content that you saw, please feel free to like and subscribe. As a small YouTube channel, every like, subscribe, and comment that you guys do means double to us. We very much appreciate any of the feedback you guys can provide. And if you guys are curious about anything 3D printing related and you want to ask for a video on that topic, that is what we're here for. So thanks guys, and happy printing.